Unity of the Huachucas presents Reverend Rick Lockhart.
Act with loving kindness.
So today's message is entitled Act with Loving Kindness. Well, I kind of pulled a fast one because that's only part of the title. The full title is My Intention is to Act with Loving Kindness. Not just a feeling of loving kindness, not just to think loving kindness, but to act with loving kindness. Because intention without action is incomplete faith. And action without intention lacks spiritual power. In a world, and dare I say country, marked by division, offense, fear, and reactive behavior, choosing kindness is not a weakness. It's spiritual maturity. It's not passive. It's power under control. The Bible in the book of Micah says, "What does the Lord require of you?" That's a good question. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with your God. You notice the word act? Loving kindness is not theatrical. It's lived. From the metaphysical perspective, intention is the seed of experience. And from the biblical perspective, the heart is the source of life. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." So today we are exploring this truth. When my intention is loving kindness, my actions become instruments of God in the world. So I'm going to break today's message down into three parts. I didn't do a slide. But the first one is intentions as a spiritual law. The second one is loving kindness is a decision, not an emotion. And the third, acting with loving kindness in daily life. We're going to start with the first one, obviously. Intentions as a spiritual law. In metaphysical teachings, intentions are causative. It's not wishful thinking. It's directed consciousness. Whatever we consciously think in our mind, we move towards. Whatever we hold inward, we eventually express outward. You know, Jesus affirmed this metaphysical truth long before it was labeled as such. In the book of Matthew, the 6th chapter, it says, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of life, will be full of light." And again, that's what we all want. That's what we all need. We need to be that light. We need to have our eyes focused on the right things. In other words, what you focus on, what you set your intentions upon, what you allow to dominate your inner vision determines the quality of your life. Metaphysically, this principle here sums that up. Energy follows intention. And biblically, the equivalent to that is, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That's out of Proverbs. So when I say my intentions is to act with loving kindness. I'm declaring that love, not fear, not ego, not offense, is governing the force of my behavior. Now, I have to say this. This doesn't mean that all people will always deserve kindness. It means each one of you, regardless of who they are, choose to have that loving kindness in you. And Jesus demonstrated this perfectly when he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." That was a reaction. That was not a reaction. That was an intention fulfilled under pressure, under great pressure. Number 2, loving kindness is a decision, not an emotion. One of the greatest misunderstandings about love is it's a primary feeling. And I'm not saying that some love isn't a feeling. I get that ooey gooey feeling in my body when I'm with my wife. The first time I met her, I got that ooey gooey feeling. And I'm sure you guys can relate. But biblically and metaphysically, love is a state of being, expressed through choices. In 1 Chronicles 13, Paul does not describe love as a feeling. He describes it as a way of acting. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love keeps no record of wrongs. And love is not easily angered. These are behaviors rooted in intention. Metaphysically speaking, loving kindness is the consciousness regulation of responses. We can regulate that if it's in us. Biblically speaking, it's the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, and kindness. How many know that fruit grows from roots? How many people believe that all the trees out here or the fruit trees at your house have roots? I mean, it's pretty much the way it is. Kindness is not forced. It's cultivated. Remember a few weeks ago my message on hope and faith. I talked about working a garden, getting in there with your hands, making the soil rich. And that's how your garden and your trees or whatever produce fruit. That's how they grow. And that's how our lives grow with loving kindness. We have to tend it. We have to grow it. We have to cultivate it to make it be a root in our lives. Jesus teaches in Luke, a good man brings good things out of the good stored in his heart. If we want loving kindness to come out of us, we must store it within ourselves intentionally. That means we don't rehearse resentment. We do not nurture bitterness. We don't identify ourselves by our wounds. Instead, we align our inner life with God's nature. What's God's nature?
Loving kindness.
Loving kindness. 1 John 4 says, so simply, God is love. So when we act out of loving kindness, we are not being unnatural. We're being aligned. Metaphysically, loving kindness changes the vibrational state. Biblically, loving kindness overcomes evil. Romans 12:21 says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." You notice the language of power and dominance. Good is not fragile. Love is not weak. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. It's not about approving harmful beliefs. It's about refusing to let hated responses come from you. Metaphysically, whatever we react to emotionally, we energize. Biblically, whatever we sow, we reap. When I choose loving kindness, I interrupt cycles of offense. I stop transmitting pain. I become a channel of healing instead of harm. In the book of Proverbs, it says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." I think we can all relate to that. We've all been in situations where the conversation might not be going real peaceful and happy. And yet, when you put in that gentleness, you give that gentle answer, it changes the atmosphere. And when you argue back with harsh words, all you do is stir it up to a greater point. Loving kindness disarms conflict. It softens hardened hearts. It shifts the atmosphere. And sometimes, and most importantly, it transforms us. And that is important, that we are transformed. Number 3, acting with loving kindness in daily life. You know, loving kindness isn't abstract spirituality. It's a practice for ordinary moments. It shows up in how we speak when we're tired. Tanya made me add this. It shows up when I'm hangry. I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? How we respond when we're misunderstood. How we treat people who can do nothing for us. Jesus said, "Whatever you did for one of the least of those, you did for me." Metaphysically, every interaction is an exchange of consciousness. What does loving kindness look like? Well, there's a lot of things. Maybe it's listening instead of interrupting. Maybe it's pausing before speaking. Maybe it's choosing compassion over control. Possibly it's offering grace instead of judgment. I think we've all been on both sides of those. Colossians 3:12 says, "Clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." Clothing is intentional. I chose to wear this shirt this morning. Sherry chose to wear that outfit. Jeff back there, for some reason, chose to wear that outfit.
Aww.
Jeff and I have a special love relationship. But every morning we can say, today my intention is to act with loving kindness. And when we fail, and we will, guarantee it, we don't condemn ourselves. We realign. So in conclusion, loving kindness is not about perfection. It's about a direction. It's choosing again and again to live from love rather than fear or hate. Jesus summarized the entire spiritual life in one statement. Love your God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. None of you were lucky enough to get to meet my dad. My dad lived his entire life going by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Some of you know my dad was in the wholesale gasoline business in Southern California. I saw him take money out of his pocket if a customer didn't have enough money to pay for their fuel oil or pay for their diesel fuel or whatever. And that's how he lived his entire life. Doing to others as you would want them to do to you. And my dad lived a really successful life to 100 years old. Metaphysically, what we love, we energize. What we energize, we manifest. So today, let's make this more than just a title. Let it be a living intention. Say it with me, not just with your lips, but with your heart. My intention is to act with loving kindness. Say it again. My intention is to act with loving kindness. You know, I'd like us to take this into prayer and meditation at this point. And just let that soak in. You know, so many times we hear words that come in here and go no place except maybe out the other ear. But this is important. It needs to go from your head to your heart. My intention is to act with loving kindness. So take that into prayer and meditation this morning. intention is to act with loving kindness in my thoughts, in my words, in my actions. And as I do this, I become a living expression of divine love in the world. And so it is. Amen.